because man's task is to make the earth after the model of heaven. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Man's project is to heavenize the earth. Man is made to transform the world from glory to glory, to take hold of it and break it down and remake it after the image of heaven.
Welcome back to the Reformed Reset. My name is Grant, and joined with me is my beautiful wife, Ericha, the weaker vessel.
Hello, everyone.
Everyone, if you would please subscribe to the YouTube channel right now. Hit the like button, hit the bell so you get notified when we release new content. And down in the description below, there are a whole bunch of links to our social media, our email, takeholdstudios@gmail.com, our website, takeholdstudios.com, and there's a link to our Patreon, our shop, all that kind of stuff. Go check it out. We'd greatly appreciate it. Right now, we are in the middle of Deep Weird 2023, and this is going to be the very last episode. Probably.
If our math is correct.
If we've done our math correctly, but we were both homeschooled, so we gotta check it twice. You check your math.
Yeah.
We'll check it twice. I hope you guys loved the interview we did with Pastor Rhett Crabtree, talking about Reverend Montague Summers, because that was really awesome. I had
enjoyed it.
A really good time learning about this guy. He was a pastor that did all of his research on like witchcraft, the occult, but from a historical studies
like a legitimate
perspective.
A legitimate like scientific study, not just like a kooky infatuation.
Right, or just like a recent era kind of study.
Right.
He went all the way back to pagan beginnings of societies and stuff. But it was really awesome learning about him. We bought a book because of his suggestion.
We did, and I'm really excited to read it.
So if you didn't watch it yet, go watch that episode.
What else has been going on here recently? Our dog had puppies.
Woo!
Yeah.
Old Dixie Dog had 8 puppies.
We have 8 little pups in our mudroom right now, and they are cute as little bugs in a rug.
So listen, if you want a blue tick, red-bone coonhound, and mixed with husky, but like the dad was husky, but they don't look like a husky at all.
No.
None of them have big, long tails. I also have no idea. Do those come later?
All I know is that this was like a human and the baby came out looking like that. We'd all be looking sideways thinking that's not the dad.
Well, I suggested that this is possible that it was an immaculate conception.
It wasn't.
Maybe this was just God caused Dixie to be pregnant.
We're getting into weird stuff now. And not the kind of weird stuff we want to get into.
Hey, this is deep weird, babe.
No.
Our dog getting pregnant.
No, this is some weird Appalachian folktale kind of weirdness.
Dogs aren't blue.
Wow, that'll get us kicked off of YouTube.
Please comment if you know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I would love it.
Wow. So,
all right, what deep weird thing are we going to talk about this time, babe?
When I was trying to come up with a topic to kind of go out with a bang, I was thinking, what is the most spooky Halloween prominent? Like when you think Halloween or spooky or weird, what do you think of? You think of people climbing up the walls. Falling down. You think of people
falling down the walls, stairs, walls.
You think of like
the girl with her head
The Conjuring,
around.
The Exorcist. You think demon possession.
Is it Poltergeist where the stuff is all levitating and kind of flying around?
I don't think I've ever seen Poltergeist.
I haven't either.
But
I think of that spooky like stuff moving, right? Isn't that like most of the spooky like ghost tours or whatever?
Every haunted house has like levitating, weird things, like
things moving that they shouldn't be.
We think of demon possession. That's what we think of. That is like the creepiest, weirdest, strangest. And as Christians, I do think that the Protestant church has done a very poor job, generally speaking, at discussing demons, Satan,
Do you mean they just they just don't talk about it. Like they try and hush it out and just be like, oh, that.
We talk about hell, but like mostly not.
Even that is, you have to be a very conservative,
right?
Biblically based church to make sure that
Very few people have sat in on a Sunday school where demons were talked about.
Yeah, I think
And if they did, it was just like briefly in passing when Jesus, in the Gospels was casting him out. It'll just be like a very brief, and then that's it. Anyway, but when we talk about like the Catholic Church, I mean, then we have exorcists, right?
Yeah,
the Catholics,
they definitely do not ignore the topic.
Right. The Catholics take a much more serious approach to it all. And I'm not saying what they do is right.
All the time.
They might be in the opposite ditch sometimes.
They are the demon-possessed ones.
Well, I'm just saying they might give a little too much credit to Satan.
Okay, got you. Well, isn't that what we're going to kind of talk about?
Yeah, okay, so we'll get there, I guess.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so we're talking about scary movies, demon possession. Demons in a lot of these scary movies or books, right? Stephen King, we're in Maine. Like demons can manifest themselves in people, in particular like landmarks or properties, houses,
well, a lot of this
objects, dolls.
Comes straight from the Bible, because there are animals that demonic spirits go into, right? The pigs that run off the cliff, obviously humans, but then even houses. Remember Jesus talks about casting out the demon, but if he comes back, he brings 7 more. And he was talking about them possessing a home. In Daniel, there's a reference to angels who are sort of governing and looking out for certain nations even. So, anyway, obviously we're in the new covenant. That was the old world. But a lot of these ideas actually come from the Bible. Continue.
Okay, so one place, I guess you could call it the Protestant church, that you will hear a lot about demons is in Deliverance Ministry. And I did a little bit of research today, which I don't tend to go and listen to kooks on YouTube on purpose. But I was like, this isn't really a world that I was ever a part of. I don't know much about it. I see things in my like algorithm on
some random stuff,
social media, but generally speaking, I don't really poke my nose into Deliverance Ministry settings. So
I think the most I see is if it's a holy nope.
Yeah.
Reel.
Yeah.
Which if you don't follow the holy nope, that guy's funny. He usually puts out some funny.
I'm pretty sure he's Reformed too.
But it's like, got my Bible. It's a beautiful day. I'm gonna go head to church, and then it's a clip from some crazy unbiblical
usually
church.
Deliverance Ministry.
But a lot of times it's deliverance type ministries. And then he closes his Bible. Nope.
Yeah.
And then heads out. It's good stuff.
So I think the guy that I listened to today was named Derek Prince. Is that what I said his name was?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I've never heard of.
I don't know much about him. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't do much research because I didn't care that much, because it's just not worth my time to invest into someone that I just fundamentally disagree with. But he, from what I can tell, was a fairly prominent deliverance ministry teacher, like in the 70s-ish.
Okay, so he's not around
70s.
Anymore.
I mean, I doubt it.
Was he kind of a pioneer of the movement?
I don't know. Like I said, I didn't do much research. All I know is that he had a ton of lectures and a lot of like comments, people being like,
so he was their theologian.
He was a theologian. I don't know if he was like the theologian. Well, if you guys, know more, then you can.
Yeah, sure. Let us know in the comments if you came out of that type of world.
Like I said, I didn't agree with him, so I didn't care to invest that much of my time to really like know how prominent he was. But he was one of the like top listened to when I searched Deliverance Ministry, so I would imagine he's pretty popular. And like 95 to 98% of what I heard from him was really good. I agreed with it. He was talking about the Gospels and, of course, Acts. All these people love the book of Acts. It's like their favorite book of the Bible. It's like the only one they really know that much about.
True.
A lot of it was good.
That's funny.
And then a lot of it went off and did weird things.
Took a turn to crazy town.
So Deliverance Ministry, do you want to explain what it is to those who may not know?
Yeah, so just in a nutshell, the Deliverance Ministries come out of this Pentecostal strain of Christianity, which we know has all sorts of problems too. But essentially, all of the sin and evil in the world, I suppose it goes back to the garden, that they just say, oh, well, it's the serpent who brought it, Why are you laughing?
I don't think, from what I heard, I don't think that they even like try and
that far back.
No.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm giving them way too much credit than they deserve.
Perhaps some of them do, but the ones I listened to today did not.
That's the logic in my mind. Like, oh, okay. But essentially, all the evil and sin in the world is a result of a demonic spirit. So when you are caught in...
When you're struggling with a particular sin, the struggle is not you warring against your sin and your flesh.
It doesn't come from your flesh or from your own person. It's the result of you being oppressed.
It's an outside force being acted upon you.
Right.
Which is a demonic outside force.
Yeah. And so...
And there are many demons, and you can manifest multiple demons even at once. So you could have a demon of...
You could have legion.
Well, but if every demon has a name, then you could have a Jezebel demon, right? And your demon could also be gluttony. Right. So you could have those two together and have like a eating disorder because you have a body image issue. Like
that's the Eglon
stuff.
Demon.
Weird stuff. There's all kinds of weird stuff. So basically any bad thing is a demon.
Right. So this is where that phrase, "the devil made me do it," comes from. It comes from this kind of thing. So, you don't want to keep sinning, right? You're a Christian. And so you need to be delivered from these demonic forces, from these principalities and powers.
And how do you do that? You need an exorcism. They don't call it that. You need to cast the demon out. You need deliverance from that demon. You need to cast it out. So if you are being tempted with lust, then you need to cast out the demon of lust.
That's right.
And I think why this is so alluring is because somewhere deep in us, we know that there is something very, like, that is bad, right?
Which is bad?
That lust is bad.
Oh, right, of course.
Bad things are bad. We know bad things are bad.
Yeah.
Every human knows bad things are bad.
Right.
And rather than having to repent and be humbled, we can make ourselves the victim.
Right. What's harder to accept? That it's your fault, and so you need to accept responsibility and actually repent of your sin and walk in newness of life, or point the finger at the Spirit.
Right.
And then just ask your deliverance prophet, pastor, person to deliver me from this.
It was really funny because I was watching some chick who calls herself an apostle because essentially in order to have the power to... This is, once again, I don't know if all deliverance ministries are like this.
You know what? They need to be clear then if it's not that clear.
I'm sure there's a variety in this setup just like most denominations. But
I don't think anyone's going to blame you.
Anyway, this one guy that I was listening to was talking about how you cannot just cast a demon out if you are a believer. And that's what happened with the disciples. That's what happened with, this one's hard, why can't we get this one out, or whatever. You actually have to be put into the line of the apostles, right?
Oh, good old apostolic succession, huh?
So how do you get that power? Well, you have to have an apostle lay hands on you. And unless you have an apostle lay hands on you, then you better not be going out trying to do deliverance ministry because you're not going to be powerful enough, right? The power has to be transferred into you, which is really interesting because if you know Old Testament, like Levitical law and stuff, the only time that things were transferred like that in the... You know where I'm going here?
I think so. Keep going.
Okay, so the priest would lay hands on the animal, you know what I'm talking about, when he would go to sacrifice it.
Yeah.
And what did that symbolize?
Substitution.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's why, pastors have hands laid on them, according to James Jordan, right? There is a transfer of power. There's a transfer of authority. There's a transfer of responsibility.
Yeah, with the animal, with the priest, it's a transfer of guilt.
Right.
Yeah.
So these deliverance ministries, like, it's just funny to me because it's like you have to go from one apostle to have the ability. Like, it's like magic, though. You're not transferring responsibility. You're transferring magical powers.
Magical powers.
Yeah, it's warped. It's a warped, upside down.
Well, and the sad reality, there was one clip that I think you sent it to me, and there was this prophetess.
There's a lot of chicks.
And it's so sad, really, when you, and I don't know, man, the whole thing could be staged. It's so bad.
I'm sure some of them are.
But this dad is asking for her to deliver his son from the demon of autism.
Yeah.
And he literally says, my son has no brains in his head. And I was like, geez, Dad. And then he's like writhing on the ground, flipping out all this stuff. When really, that prophetess is the one who's the demonic oppressor. Mm-hmm. Lying to him and totally ripping the Bible to shreds with her false teaching.
Well, it's interesting in that clip, she casts the generational curse of autism out of the father. Yeah. So she's saying your son is your son has autism because you have a demon that is possessing you through this generational curse, right?
Yeah, and that's such a false teaching, because if that dad is a Christian, then it's broken.
Right.
If he's in Christ, the generational curse is broken.
Well, it makes me think of, where the question was asked to Jesus, like, who sinned, this man or his parents, right?
Neither.
Right.
It's so that God would be glorified.
Right.
In the healing of him.
Where is that story being read from the pulpit to that father who's claiming that his son has a demon of autism, right? It's like nowhere. They skip over all these verses that preach truth because it doesn't fit their narrative, because they can't make money off of it, is really what it is.
One of the big things, well, other than it totally shifting the responsibility for sin from the sinner to these demonic principalities and powers, right, which is not good. The Bible constantly tells us that we're the sinner and we need to take responsibility. But I don't like, and this is what I love in the opposite, this is what I love about James Jordan and how he talks about Halloween and how we
Hold on, don't jump there yet, because I want to get there, okay?
Okay.
So we have to end with that.
All right. Well, I just want to say what I instantly don't like about it is how much credence and power is given to these demonic forces. It's like they are this like only an apostle can deliver it, and so you better go find yourself an apostle.
You got to be in the bloodline of the apostle.
Yeah, like you.
Not in Christ, in the apostle.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I don't like that. But
okay, so the one thing that I was thinking about, and this is where I'm jumping in my head.
Yeah. From
Deliverance Ministry into this fascination with the demonic.
Yep.
In like the Halloween movies, literature, whatever, folklore, is because somewhere in all of us, Christian or totally non-Christian, totally atheist, we know that there is a power out there in the world that is capable of darkness. And whether we want to admit that it is out there actually existing, like most atheists won't believe in like demons, right?
Yeah.
But somehow they know that whatever badness is out in the world is still capable of getting into them. Which is very fascinating to me, because that is the scariest thing, isn't it? It's one thing to see evil, and it's another thing to have evil be inside of you.
Yeah.
And it's the thing that like every person is most terrified of. And you see this in a lot of scary movies where in the end, like I'm thinking of like, I don't want to give spoilers alert. There's a lot of horror movies where the hero and the heroine become the villain themselves.
Right.
Yeah,
we're all terrified that we are actually the villain and not the hero.
That whatever bad, evil thing is out there is going to actually get into us and possess us. Right. That's the scariest thing of all.
And like without our even noticing.
Right.
You're just, yeah.
It's scary to see Annabelle the doll do weird things, or it's scary to see people levitate off their beds. It's even scarier when you're the person who's levitating off the bed. And that's why it's so freaky. It's only freaky because you don't want it to happen to you. If you really believed, oh, that can't happen to me, it wouldn't be nearly as scary. But because it's a real fear, because it really is evil in the world, it's like a train wreck. You can't take your eyes off of it. It's like this thing that you feel powerless to combat somehow, which is where the Deliverance Ministry comes in. That's why so many Christians fall into
the hero.
That weird, they can become the hero at least.
Yeah, in that world, they try and be the hero, because don't worry, your greatest fear, I can dispel.
Right.
Right. I can handle this, this fear that you have, and it's very common in a culture that continues to reject God. So that's why I believe right now we're seeing an uptick in this sort of interest.
Because we don't understand evil.
That's true too.
Because we don't actually understand. This is where you were going with the James Jordan thing. I feel like we have to end on this. This is where the James Jordan thing comes into play because, okay, so now we think we're at least starting to see part of the problem here. Mm-hmm. So what? What do we do about it? What's the solution? It sounds to me like Christians should just stay as far away from this stuff as possible. This is why Christians shouldn't celebrate Halloween. This is why Christians shouldn't like horror movies. This is why Christians shouldn't have, be reading books about like zombies or vampires or like it's unfit for Christians to have anything to do with this weird nonsense, right?
Well,
isn't that what we should say?
No, we should rightfully mock and giggle at the spookiness of the demonic forces. Because if you truly recognize who the King of Kings is, who the Lord of Lords is, and who is ruling in heaven and on earth now, then what do you have to fear?
Well, and if you are a Christian, you understand that the scariest thing was already inside of you and it has already been conquered. The scariest of all scary things
that's a great point,
has literally already been tamed and conquered and put to death by Christ on the cross. The sin nature that was already inside of us. We don't need a demon to possess us to make us the monster. We already were.
Right. Project 86 had a song, Me Against Me. Mm-hmm. And that was the whole song was all about.
Fantastic, yeah.
That's the real enemy. It's me against me against me.
Right.
And
which is what you see the Apostle Paul talking about.
Right. And Christian culture got the doctrine of sin wrong, and they started to demonize everything else in the world except yourself. Right. And so movies are bad, and this is bad and this is bad and all this stuff, and you can't say darn it, and you can't whatever, like it just all these things become demonized, and you're trying to keep the evil away because you don't want to be tainted, all the while it's still sitting right there inside of you the whole time. It's
the thing you can't escape, and that's why it's the train wreck that you can't turn away from, right? It's just, and to be fair, like Pastor Crabtree said in the last episode, there is a type of fascination that's completely unhealthy for a Christian to have.
Totally.
We're not disregarding that. That's absolutely true. And if you have a weird, sick fascination with it, it's probably because there's some type of alluring thing there that you're not repenting of.
Well, it's almost like you're attracted to the idea that it has all this power, right? Like it is this kind of mysteriously powerful thing that can't be stopped, and it just rules and has dominion, and so you're attracted to it in that way.
Was it Pippin?
That's sinful.
Was it Pippin in Lord of the Rings?
I think it was Pippin.
That touched
Pippin or Merry, I don't know. I get them confused.
The glass.
Yeah, the looking glass, the Palantir. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was like a enticement towards it.
Yeah, it was it was drawing him in. Mm-hmm. But that's sinful and unhealthy because it doesn't have that power. Christ has crushed it, and actually we're told
it's not that it has no power.
No. Just not the power we give it, not that power that we attribute to it or that we think it has.
Yeah.
I love the verse I believe it's in Colossians, that after the resurrection and all these things, Paul says that Christ has put the principalities and powers to an open shame and disarmed them.
Well, thinking about the Pippin story, if you guys ever watch Lord of the Rings, it's interesting that he's going to go and be sneaky and look at this looking glass and like take it out of the sleeping wizard's arms. It's like, dude, you got a freaking wizard right there.
Right.
Like, talk about powers and whatever. Like, you are stealing from the wizard to go into like the glass. Like, you have a live wizard with you. And if you know anything about like the beginning of time and the history and the genealogy and everything and like the Lord of the Rings, like the wizards are like the OGs. Yeah. Like they were there when basically
angels, like archangels. Yeah, a lot of power.
So like But in so many ways, like, Christians are the same. We literally have Christ. We have, like, an OG, right? All power. And yet we're still so fascinated with this weird little stupid looking glass, which does have power, does have capabilities.
Well, and it's no surprise that even Christians would be drawn into something like this. We are creatures who are made to worship something that's beyond creation. So we do have a natural pull to the unseen and to that strong, powerful spiritual realm. Right?
Well, Christians and non-Christians, really, we all know that there's something.
Every human is made to worship. It's just it needs to be directed in the right way. And the Word, the Scriptures have to tell us how to do that, right? How to, this is how we think of the principalities and powers. This is how we, right? The armor of God. Here are the things. This is how you battle the principalities and powers, not by flailing around on a stage.
And the funny thing about listening to a lot of these deliverance ministry folk talk about their doctrines and how they derive their methods and stuff is that they're coming a lot out of they're deriving a lot of it out of the Gospels, right? Jesus did this, Jesus did that. Sometimes it's in Acts.
Go ahead.
Sometimes they have some stories in Acts, but most of it really does come from the Gospels. And it's like, but that's pre-resurrection, right? There's a whole lot accomplished after.
Acts is not, though.
Right. After, that's what I'm saying. Mostly the Gospels. Prior to the resurrection, like it was totally different. After the resurrection, after that whole, time in history, a lot of things changed. A lot of things shifted for us.
Well, and we've heard this from a few, I think Jordan talked about this too, but in history, it's very common when the gospel first breaks into a culture that there's a lot of seemingly
demonic activity.
Yeah, and casting out demons, and even healings and stuff. And it's not in the I'm a healer, give me money, whatever. Like, it's not in that sense. It just
seems kind of supernatural.
It just seems supernatural, and and the way that my mentor put it, because that's the easy stuff. When the gospel first breaks in, it sort of sweeps out and
the cockroaches flee.
Yes.
Turns out when you turn a light on.
That's beautiful, babe. That's so good. All right, episode's over. No, but so you're shining the light of the gospel into culture, and the cockroaches flee, and that's what you see. None of us should ever be like, oh, we got to keep that going. What? Like, that should be just the very beginnings, and that's what you see in the book of Acts. And the Gospels too, but the book of Acts, the kingdom was breaking in, right? Afterwards, this is what my mentor said, what's the harder thing afterwards? Like, casting out demons is not the harder thing. The harder thing is to get Christians to act like Christians. To get Christians to actually obey the commands in Scripture.
But that's why deliverance ministry is so popular, because if a Christian isn't acting like a Christian, it's not because of them, it's because of a demon.
And it keeps them babes.
It's because the cockroach really didn't leave.
Yeah, and it's meant to keep them babes in the faith too. So you're just perpetuating an infancy stage in people's faith.
Yeah, victimhood mentalities and
that is where it really is. It's sad. But yeah, we got to be discerning so that we can call this out and call it a joke for what it is, because it is a complete joke. Yeah.
So we reference James Jordan a lot around here. I know we kind of like him.
He's the intro, outro. He's the man.
Probably influenced both of us
a lot for the last 5 years.
Yeah. Anyway, he has a great article that if you have not read it, you must read it.
Concerning Halloween.
You must make all of your friends read it. You must make your pastor read it. You must make the whole world read it.
That's amen.
We read it every year.
Yep.
We read it to our kids.
The other day.
It is so important for Christians to grasp why we should be celebrating Halloween. Why we can laugh and mock the cockroaches.
Exactly.
Because they're really funny and they have a lot of stupid little legs and they're so scared of light. Think about it. Like, they're just scared of the light.
It's awesome.
They run from the light. It's pretty funny.
It's fantastic.
Christians can mock evil because it's funny.
Yeah.
Because
It's
that's
funny.
what God does, doesn't he? Doesn't he laugh?
Sits in the heavens and laughs at all those who conspire against him. Because that's funny. Evil pretending like they can own history, or they can have dominion over Christ. That's hilarious. That's that's funny, dude. Like cool story, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know what else, it's right. It's a kid saying, Dad, I can beat you up. And it's like, you silly kid.
Right.
No.
Right. Anyway, read the article. It's fantastic.
Christ isn't even just a bigger creature. He created them.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So concerning Halloween, I'll put it in the description. You can find it at theopolisinstitute.com.org.net. I'm not sure. You can just Google Theopolis Institute concerning Halloween and you'll find it there, but I'll try and remember to put it in the description. And I'm probably going to share it on my Facebook here pretty soon, because I think I try to every year because it's just so good.
It is so good. This is why Christians can enjoy horror movies and scary, television shows or whatever, because it can be, if it's written properly, a great telling of history, right?
I would say
that sin and death and evil are conquered and conquerable.
Right. Yeah. I would say that those things, the movies and stuff, need to be viewed and consumed through the filter of a really strong Christian worldview of who the true king is in the world right now, and the proper place in the hierarchy of where the principalities and powers are. And all that stuff's really helpful, because then you can rightly see it, and you don't need to fear. Because that's the thing that a lot of people I think struggle with is, oh, it's so fearful and I can't grab it and I can't control it. And it's like, well, you haven't been given a spirit of fear.
I've made a concerted effort with our kids this year to watch scary movies. They're all getting older now.
Yeah.
To watch scary movies with them, more appropriate ones. And there are terrible horror movies that I would never recommend and I will never watch, just because I know what they are. And it's like, they're rom-coms that I will never watch because they're disgusting and filthy and are terrible, right? Yeah. This is
not some like carte blanche endorsement of...
I wouldn't do that with any genre ever.
Right.
Even Christian genres. I would never say, oh, it's Christian, go watch it. Like, you have to be discerning people. This should be understood.
Mom and Dad, can we watch Left Behind? No,
you can't.
You're gonna read Revelation wrong if you do.
Or like The Chosen or whatever. Anyway, so like making a concerted effort with our kids this year to watch horror movies or scary movies with them and talk through like what we're watching. Why is that scary? Why was that meant to be so ominous? Why was it said like this? Or we were talking about like in the way the colors on the TV screen are, right? Yeah. It starts out really gray and grim and dark, and
colors
then as
introduced.
Certain things happen and the narrative progresses, more colors are muted at first and then more and more vibrant as evil grows. Anyway, things like that. Like, I want my kids to be able to watch and consume these things and see, this is how I am being manipulated into being scared, into believing something here, but is that actually true?
Right.
Is that true of God and his world?
Well, and asking your kids too, why do you think that character in the movie is scared? Why aren't they giggling at this house trying to, or whatever, like you are right now? How come they're not giggling? Right. Because it's a worldview thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway.
So that's good. Awesome. Well, happy Halloween.
Happy spooky season.
Happy Halloween. Happy All Saints Day. Happy Reformation Day. This really is a great, season for the church calendar. You know what I mean?
It's fantastic.
And then we got Advent coming up. This is a good time.
Very exciting.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the Deep Weird 2023. Let us know in the comments below. And...
see you next year with another season.
Next year. Oh, yeah. Next year we'll have Deep Weird 2024. And we'll address a whole another slew of weird stuff.
We'll be back with our normal content.
Yeah, but we'll be back.
If you're sick of this.
Yeah, just hang tight. We'll be back with normal stuff. So, anyway, until next time, take hold and reorder creation by first reforming your home. This has been the Reformed Reset.
But on the basis of grace and on the finished work of Jesus Christ, the project is back and forth, and the destiny of a new transformed world is assured.